So after the flood of reports today about Matthew Judon visiting, I know probably most of the reporters on this call were besieged by the question, are any of your edge rushers out long term or even several weeks with an injury? So are any of your edge rushers out long term or several weeks with an injury?
Well, that's pretty there's some presumption there. No, there's not. We're visiting for the sake of seeing if there's a situation that both parties would be able to come into an agreement of, hey, this is a situation that fits. So visiting for visiting purposes, we'll see what it leads to.
Thanks.
Mike Cunio.
Hey, Coach, how's it going? As we hit this final week of the preseason and other joint practice, I was just curious what your thoughts of the level of competition have been for training camp this year so far. You happy with where everything's been?
Yeah, I think this year relative to other years, you guys know my mantra, and I very much believe that you allow players every opportunity to win employment and create their own little spot on the roster. And this year, it's probably the most vast real competition. There's a lot of I would say there's we put a lot of emphasis on this rookie class, and I think they're pushing a lot of people. A lot of young players are fighting for opportunities on this football team. So I've been very happy with the competition because it's been embraced by the players. I would say the team is closer, even though the competition for jobs is that much more difficult. And I think we're benefiting from realistically, it's all 90 players. If you can get them all to improve, it makes the decisions difficult, but it's good for the football team because everyone's better in that process. So it's been very, very competitive, and we've always had some competitive battles, but this probably takes the cake in this being my fourth year.
Chris Perkins.
Hey, Mike, I've got a running back question for you. With the running backs, aside from Devon Achane, are you looking for any specific qualities such as short yardage, receiving, pass protection? Is there anything that you particularly want to see?
Well, I think for me, I'm always trying to find the tools that we can utilize as a competitive advantage, find what people are good at. But I'm also not like taking one result and saying, all right, that's what you are good at. It's about so much of it is, all right, you did something good here. Can you apply it here? Or I want to see this from you, and seeing how people react to challenges, because you're trying to both find ways that guys can make plays, but you're also trying to make long-term decisions based on which who's on your roster and who's not. So all of those things, it's I think they're people finding success in short yardage for us is definitely an asset, but you're also trying to see, can I keep guys on the field in certain situations? Can they pick up pass pro? Can, realistically, what are their levels of their game, and pushing the guys to be dependable and full tool players. So, I think that there's been some meaningful snaps, from the running back position where guys have, shown some ability to do some things, and there's also been some things we can work on. But it's the build up, and these are so valuable because you got to depend on guys to respond and take points of emphasis in the regular season. if you're going to give them those opportunities on the front end. So I think all the guys are working hard, and it's been competitive. And there'll be a tremendous work week against ourselves, and then going against Jacksonville for both a joint and a regular season game. So there's a lot in store still for the running back position.
Okay, thank you.
David Furonis.
Hi, Mike. Is this the week that you roll Darren Waller out there for the first time? And how do you balance protecting him versus getting him some reps at some point if he will indeed be ready by the time the season begins?
Yeah, this is where we thought a realistic assessment would be made, and we're kind of making that daily. I don't the I'm expecting to see him sooner than later. I had kind of in the back of my mind it would be this week, but I'm not going to just put him out there this week and just because I said it before. I'm hopeful, but it's very soon. We're just making sure that all of our ducks are in a row before we take that listing off them.
Thank you.
Omar.
Mike, I want to get some clarity on some of the injuries. Obviously, Zach didn't participate in the second joint practice, neither did Devon. Are those injuries something that might limit their participation this week in practice, if not longer?
I'm expecting to see Sealer this week. With Devon, he's an explosive athlete with it's a calf that calves are the ones that you have to be super proactive, especially with explosive players, where we don't want to have a long, strenuous nagging issue. So we probably won't see Devon this week after further assessment through the weekend, but that's more preventative in nature, just because all trainers across the league have horror stories with calves if you're too aggressive coming back. So that's the nature of that as it relates to Vaughn.
Thank you.
Joe Shad.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to ask you about one of your favorite topics, which is being present, engaged.
Yes.
Watching from home, I saw on television that Minkah Fitzpatrick was charting throughout the game. I don't know exactly what he was charting, but he was very involved in all the plays. And I also noticed in the fourth quarter, while you guys were trying to hold on to a lead, that all the players were lined up, sort of cheering on their teammates. What are your thoughts on all of what I just said there?
Well, I think it's talk versus doing. I think we've talked a lot about what we want our team to look like, but actions, the ones that you're noticing, are the same ones that I'm pointing out. That to me, realistically, you can't. That's something that's a derivative of intentionality and true investment into each other. I think the sidelines have been different all preseason, and I think it was on display in Detroit, and that's a result of enhanced connectivity that's real, not just saying, hey, we want to be a closer team. I think you're seeing defensive players celebrate with offensive players and vice versa. You're seeing, Q Bell makes a tackle on kickoff, and Tua has his towel waving, and I'm telling him to get back out of the white. That's a good problem to have. That's how teams, you want to know how people succeed throughout the season, and particularly down the stretch of the season. Yeah, that extra, relationship earned, the extra accountability witnessed, the trust, all of these things amount to more than inches in a game of inches. So I think I've been very proud of how guys have invested into their craft. That I talk about being present because it starts with that, and intentionality and being present each and every day. Teaching or focusing April 21st the way that you would, on August 21st, and those things add up. I think we have a much more connected team because everyone has recognized ways we can grow, and I think both preseason games have been very happy with a level of connectivity that I think is enhanced for good reason.
Thank you.
Hal?
Hi, Mike.
No, the mute button is tricky. I understand. I get it.
You can hear me now, though, right?
Oh, I can.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
A short time ago, we got news that Xavier Howard was signing with the Colts. I'm wondering, I guess this is a one and a half
You just broke the news to me.
I guess this is a 1.5 part question. Whether he was considered by the Dolphins and what the likelihood is that you may add a veteran cornerback.
Well, I think I think inherent in our job responsibilities is that we consider everything. So I think we're every move we make a ton of moves that we don't make, if that makes sense. So you consider everything. If that's true, that's happy for X. And there's a lot that goes into the final roster. One of which is evaluating your guys fully, and then also have it. There's opportunities every day that you're going against. You're grading your guys versus whoever is available. That's just the nature of the National Football League. And then you have another cut down date where there's more of that goes on. But I would say the best way to answer it is it's kind of inherent in our responsibilities to consider all those things. And there's a possibility that we could add somebody, and there's a possibility that from our professional opinion, the better player is already on our roster. I think that's part of the reason I'm so meticulous with the evaluation process and to see how people respond, and not just saying this nameplate from last year isn't as good as the other nameplate for last year. People are defining themselves every day, so I let them define themselves by their play. And we as an organization discuss all those players, and I wouldn't close the lid on that possibility at all. But I'm not trying to open it either. We have there's new challenges aplenty this week, both with playing against our team and having a joint with some more talented players as well.
David?
And my voice is going away, so I'm going to take a drink. Yeah, sorry.
Hey, Coach. Sticking
Hello.
with the cornerback position, I'm curious, what do you see inside that building that people outside the building are not seeing? Because I feel like sort of around the conversation around the Dolphins, so much of it focuses on concern about the cornerback position. So what do you see on a daily basis that people outside are not seeing that makes you confident that that position is going to be okay?
Detailed commitment to technique and fundamentals that I know with absolute certainty is the difference between winning and losing, being one of 11, and evaluating people for what they're doing. So, what am I seeing? I'm seeing, guys play very consistent bump coverage relative to the rest of the league or teams we go against. I'm seeing guys that are making plays in the pass game and the run game. I'm seeing guys play off coverage, reading through quarterback quick game footwork and progressing to a larger pedal and staying square with wide departure routes. Watching squat or corners play the game between aggressive reroute and bail, disciplined football. I'm watching people take direct angles on shallow crosses. These are all things that I usually don't speak on because they're very, I don't know, it's coach speak and what we do every day, but the challenge is not to find the names that make us feel most comfortable on the front end. It's trying to be real and find the best players. And so, I think, that there's a lot, whether it's individual players or teams, I think there's a reason why there's so many surprises each and every football year. And that's, how many times has everyone predicted the correct order of each division winner and who's second, third, or fourth? And how many times are there surprise players that well, that's all because there's a ton of work post 2024 and and people change every year. Pete Carroll once told me, like my first owners meetings, that he's like, one thing that you can't ever forget is that everyone, you can't assume that people are the same every year after every off season. And so, I think I understand it, but I do think it's the same, same conversation every year where people are assuming that teams or individual players are the same person that they've known. And when you don't have a long resume of NFL production, you assume that's because they're not good. And I think that's probably why there's a disconnect, because I've we're all evaluating people off of days, weeks, a very, very focused, intentional instruction and evaluation from that. So our opinions come from with the Miami Dolphins, our opinions come from the field and how people are producing. And when there's other people that are better served for this organization to do those jobs, and we have the ability to target those players, we always do that. But the training camp and really off-season training camp is where players define themselves, both good and bad. And we're watching a lot of guys go after their dream and do some good stuff each and every day. That's hard for you guys to report.
Marcel?
Hey, Mike. Curious, kind of two-part question here. How did you see, from your perspective, how did you see your team respond to a couple or three pretty physical joint practices over the past few weeks? And what lessons from those two practices are you looking for your guys to apply this week when the Jags come to town?
Well, I think it's much of the same. How do players play their very best in the biggest moments? I think it's the same rep when you're talking about a big division opponent, or you're talking about elimination game or a conference championship or a Super Bowl. The NFL, all NFL players show up whenever they're in a competitive situation, and they want the positive result. And the trick is when you have, especially when you have highly competitive, you know, physical mindset of, you know, both the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. You know that you're going to come to work and they're going to try to beat you. Can you focus on how you're supposed to do your job, and the nuances of the technique and fundamentals, and not focus on all the other things that that can really distract people, which is like, hey, I want to make a play, or hey, I want to you know, crush this guy at the point of attack. That's all good. Well, every player wants to beat every other player on every snap. Can you focus in within the heat of battle? And that's, you know, early reps at that are invaluable. You know, one thing I thought was the best thing about both joints is the intentionality and effort going into it was correct. And I thought we learned, you know, a lot of individuals. And I think overall, collectively, I use those individual examples as lessons, but a lot of individuals learned the lesson of doing different things from your technique and fundamentals in a competitive environment. It's the most difficult thing to master, but when you look at the way that we had the effort and the intentionality, and with the Chicago Bears as an example, I thought we had better technique and fundamentals in all three phases in the game than we did in the practice. With the Detroit Lions, I think we had all of the above were improved on the second joint. And so that means we got better. And the idea throughout the preseason is to find ways to consistently improve and not stay stagnant or regress. So, you know, as far as utilizing the month of August to get lessons for your team that will survive you know, we'll be talking about the same things we talked about in both joints in October and November. To me, that's successful regardless how you cut it. There's things to get better from. But overall, I just liked the intensity that, you know, both those teams brought, and our intensity to challenge. And I thought we got we definitely got better from the whole trip, both in the connectivity of the team, but really in the what I think are the biggest lessons in football, and that's how to control what you can control, which is your investment into your focus of the things that we work on the most, which is our technique and fundamentals.
We've got time for two last questions. We'll go to Alan first and then close out with Mike Cunha.
Mute. Here we go. Hey, Mike, a couple of housekeeping matters, if I could. Can you provide an update on Ethan Bonner and Dante Trader Jr., who we saw played only 5 snaps? And then do you remain as confident as you were at the time of his injury that Austin Jackson will be ready for week 1?
Wow. 3? Housekeeping, Ethan Bonner was it was a real it was a real hamstring, but not you know, so that that's a timetable of weeks, but nothing beyond that. Then what was the second question?
Dante Trader.
Dante Trader, that was pre-planned in the process. I wanted him to go through the whole. I wanted him extra rep to prepare for a game and get a series in, but not overcook that competitor and send him on So that was pre-planned, and we'll see how that plays out. Then the last one,
Austin Jackson, you remain confident he'll be ready week 1?
I do. Nothing has told me that I shouldn't have confidence in. So things are going as planned.
Thank you.
Mike Cunha?
Mike, I know you'll be focused on your team obviously this week and joint practices, but I'm just curious what your thoughts are on Travis Hunter as a player. Are you intrigued by what he can do on the football field, and might you peek over to what he's doing during joint practices?
No, I mean he's definitely I think everyone's intrigued with the idea of having one roster spot fill two needs. And yeah, I think he's a great player. I really liked him coming out. His ball skills stood out. And you could feel for a guy that was that highly touted that he's a football guy, that that's what's most important to him and that's what drives him. So that'll be cool. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is I'll be telling the players to not focus on them. So I probably shouldn't pontificate too much on them, because it's for me, I'm really really driving home that, in my opinion, in the players' opinion, there's the team that we should focus on solely is the Miami Dolphins. So there'll be extra effort to try to keep. Maybe I'll put earmuffs over some of the players when you ask them questions about their individual players, because I want them less concerned about any of the nameplates that are coming, and I want them focused on our game and how we play it. So. I'm excited, but I won't even think about it that day, because it's about our growth and nothing else.